and we will proceed. How did we feel about that exercise?
Well,
Appreciate
it was very useful. It's really a sort of rehearsal for the one on the 12th or the 13th. Oh, I see. Okay. So I thought it was useful. And I think that the tips, speaking for myself, that you alluded to earlier this afternoon were very helpful, and we were able to put them into use.
Okay.
You know, the bridging, the recognizing that you're really speaking, as I was saying to the others in my group, Alicia and Maureen, you're really having a conversation with the audience of the journalists and not so much with the journalists. And therefore, you have to be astute not to forget that.
Yeah.
And so answer questions in a way that you provide the messaging that you want to provide to the audience, even if and when the questions from the journalists may not exactly be in sync with what you wish to provide to the journalist, but to the audience of the journalists.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, President Saunders. That observation is in essence what it's all about. And it's not even when the questions are not aligned to what we're trying to achieve, but in how it's delivered to. So I really want us to get into the habit of take no offense. Remember the higher purpose of your engagement. He or she will come across as the arrogant, vulgar, spoiled, or entitled journalist that he or she may be. You would have, at the end of the encounter, still preserved not just the dignity of your organization, but of yourself. Okay, so and I thank you that you find some value in the bridging phrases that we've provided. It really does help. I remember early days in the young times working at the ministry. It was one of the things that I had to do to really feel confident that I can manage and navigate around the minefield of questions that journalists can pose. And so what I did, I would have taken a list of 10 bridging phases and committed to, over the next 3 months, revising and memorizing about 5. Then once I felt I got those part of my normal flow of question responses, then I learned another 5. I literally just had to do that to build and condition myself, right, to respond to media questions and to stay in control of where I would like the interview to go. So I'm hoping Madonna's back with us and ready to start our recap. Good.
Just managing some noise here. So, okay, great. So what we'll do is do the actual run through. So may I invite the team, Guyana, Jamaica, followed by CCJ. And then let's look at Belize. So let's see that order, and we'll keep the exact timing, right? So let us go, Guyana, Jamaica.
Good afternoon, all, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We have today the situation where courts have for some time been criticized for the length of time that cases take to come on for hearing, for trial, and also the time that it takes for judgments to be delivered. In an effort to improve efficiency and to meet these specific challenges, the Chief Justice and the judiciary have initiated a program called Differentiated Case Management in order to provide better assistance to people who use the courts. To give us better information this afternoon in respect of that initiative, we have Judge Crooks, Chief Parish Court Judge, and he will field questions after making some initial opening remarks. Judge Crooks?
Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Sir Moderator. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm here today to speak on the topic of differentiated case management. But in opening, let me just say that we in the Jamaican judiciary have long recognized and often lamented the fact that one of the issues plaguing us in the Jamaican justice system is the increasingly long delays in disposing of matters. We further recognize that this has caused our court users at all levels, being lawyers, litigants, victims, further inconvenience and frustration, which has also had the unfortunate side effect of increasing case backlog while eroding public trust and confidence in the system. In an effort to fix this problem, we have introduced a new initiative in the course known as differentiated case management. This is an internationally recognized case flow management technique whereby there will be an implementation of firm time standards and case management guidelines, which we in the judiciary will rigorously apply. This will be done throughout the court system to the benefit, again, of all court users at all levels. The intended effect of differentiated case management will be a further and increased reduction in case backlog, definite start and end times for new matters entering into the system, thereby preventing any further addition to backlog, while also helping us to meet our case clearance targets. This will therefore increase our overall efficiency and allow us to fulfill our mandate of providing timely justice to the court users of the Jamaican courts. Therefore, all the court users, being litigants, the attorneys at law, victims of crime or parties in civil proceedings, will benefit from a clear timeline for the disposition of their matters. In this way, we will strive to achieve our mission of a timely disposition of cases and overall efficiency in the Jamaican justice system. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Judge Crooks. And we'll field some questions from you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start with journalist McLennan.
Good afternoon, and thank you for accommodating me this afternoon to take this interview.
Good afternoon.
Justice Crooks, this differentiated case management system which you speak about, though internationally recognized, is still inefficient, and there are still complaints by the defendant and litigants. There is still a backlog. While it sounds innovative, it does not address basic infrastructural problems of rural courts, nor does it highlight preferences for urban areas, but continues the process of rural neglect. What are your thoughts on this, Justice Crooks?
All right, thank you for that question. Let me start with the point about the infrastructural challenges for the rural courts. The differentiated case management, an intended effect of that system also is that it will benefit those courts that are seen as the most disadvantaged, most of all, in terms of an improvement in their services. A part of the thrust of differentiated case management would be a wide-scale digitization of records and data management. This will help to mitigate against the challenges being faced by courts that have already been plagued by infrastructural challenges. They stand to gain the most, actually, with an effective implementation of this system. I can also, so far our data has shown that there has been a marked improvement, an increase in cases being more efficiently disposed of once they enter into the system. And I would invite you to visit the website of the Court Administration Division, where you can see some statistics and figures that will support the fact that the differentiated case management is proving to be a very positive game changer for our system.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Justice.
Thanks,
Thank
thanks
you.
very much. You have another question, Ms. McLennan?
Thank you. Certainly. Justice Crooks, defendants are still complaining that the system is taking too long and too long to get through the court system because of this case management system. There are too many adjournments for, to complete your files and so on. So what are your thoughts on this? Although you have an innovative new system, it's still leading to the backlog.
All right, the backlog will not disappear overnight. And we do recognize and acknowledge that there is a backlog. The differentiated case management is an active step to address that backlog. And it will take a culture shift, and it will take some buy-in from all our stakeholders. From the judicial point of view, there'll be a firm implementation of time standards both the prosecution and the defense will have to hold in the criminal arena and also in the civil arena in terms of matters being disposed of within a certain time, depending on the simplicity or complexity of the matters. The good thing about differentiated case management, apart from strengthening our existing processes, it has also helped us to focus on existing weaknesses with a view to addressing them. And so far, that has been done. It's actually full speed ahead in terms of addressing these problems. So the thing about a spotlight, which we are not shying away from, it highlights the positives, but it also highlights the negatives. And that is what we hope to achieve in terms of highlighting the negatives so that we can address them to the benefit of all our stakeholders, both internally and externally.
Thanks very much. Do we have time for one last question?
Justice Crooks, you talk about negatives and positives. Will you say that the fact that there have been a lot of complaints about files being misplaced in your system due to the fact of this case management system, which requires the files to come up regularly, and many persons have complained that this has slowed up the process also because the files are being misplaced? Do you have any comments to make on that negative impact?
We have heard the
So
complaint.
thank you, Jamaica. Guyana, it's 8 minutes and 21.82 seconds.
Thanks
So,
very much, Judge Crooks,
excellent
ladies and
going.
gentlemen.
I was just about to answer very passionately. But anyway.
To go, that was good.
So great.
Very good.
Caroline, feedback for them?
Well, I would just start off by saying, well done Team Jamaica, well done, journalist McLennan. You seemed set and ready to ask your questions. And I think I really want us to appreciate that these are, and I'm hoping that this is from the bag of difficult questions that maybe Jamaica didn't want to be asked, so that they kind of had some responses already crafted in it. But I would want to say that I heard clearly who you were speaking to. So I understood, the what's in it for me. Okay, that came across very early in your opening statement. One of the things, though, it's a real delicate balance now that we have to manage with. We want to be open and transparent in where we are, but I really don't want us to be so open and transparent that we really say that, we basically shooting ourselves now in our own foot. And I would use two examples, right? So it's a real delicate balance. We're acknowledging that we have challenges within our backlog system. I wouldn't say increasingly long delays. We just have some long delays. We have some delays that we're working on. I would not add that word increasingly. And then because it's the language that we've been using internally, eroding public trust and confidence, I wouldn't want that coming out of what we say. So we recognize, I would use the word, we want to build public trust and confidence, or that by doing this initiative, we further hope to improve public trust and confidence. But coming out of our mouth, I would not want us to speak about that we are eroding public trust and confidence. We are recognizing that it's an important aspect of our public's perception of us, and that we are hopeful that this initiative can strengthen, can build. Okay, so we really walking a good balance of being authentic, recognizing where we are, and moving forward with confidence in the initiatives. All right. In terms of responding to the questions posed by the journalists, I think you did a very good job. Again, it will come with practice, and that's exactly how you would feel when you're responding. I like that you didn't respond with negatives. They were generally positive directives, positive statements directing you to your key messages that came across very clear. And so the impression I got was that this was the subject matter expert on this topic, that the differentiated case management system has a lot of positives. It has a lot of wins. There's statistics that I can go and do my reference checks on, and that we recognize that all systems, as it's now evolving and improving, will spotlight. I loved how you used the word spotlight, some of the challenges in our system, and we're going to be using it to improve. So I felt it was an excellent first stab at what it would be like responding on the fly in a virtual press conference, and you guys will only improve with time.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you, Team Jamaica Guyana. Tremendous, great start. Languaging, passion. Remember the guidelines, the passion, it's really impactful because you identify who it will impact, and really you're connected with your audience, with your key publics. Well done, Jamaica Guyana.
Thanks for the suggestion for having Judge McLennan join us.
She can stay with us.
Thank you for being there.
So great, excellent. Do we have CCJ? Caroline, did they?
Yeah, well, I know they're here on the line.
Yes, we're here.
Yes.
Okay, you all are ready to proceed?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But Donna, may I
Okay.
just beg your indulgence, just 1 minute for the other participants, please comment in the chat and give commendations to all team members at the end of the presentation, give them words of encouragement, anything that you particularly liked. So let's give that positive reinforcement and feedback, please. Thank you, and over to you now.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. Go ahead, CCJ. You're muted, just.
Right.
Okay, much better, all right.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chief Justice, members of the media, and to you, our esteemed audience. Today, we are present to discuss the judiciary's implementation of a systematic approach to address issues concerning pre-trial detention. At this junction, I would like to introduce the Honorable Mr. Justice Adrian Saunders, President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, who will inform you upon the strategies and measures that will be implemented to address and propel change to eradicate this troubling issue of pretrial detention. I hand you over to the Honorable Justice Saunders.
Thank you very much, Alicia, and it is really indeed a pleasure for me to be here and to address your viewers and listeners. As you know, a lot of the complaints about the justice system deals with delay. Many persons are concerned with the pace at which their trials and the trials of persons who have been accused of committing crime, the pace at which those trials is held. Pre-trial detention involves a special feature of delay. It is one which the Caribbean Court of Justice is particularly concerned about because it is unfair to suspects who must be presumed innocent to have to spend long periods in custody awaiting trials. We have known that in some instances, persons spend up to 10 years awaiting a trial. It is also unfair to victims and families of victims because they have to await long periods of time for justice, and this is not something which should be encouraged in any society that is governed by the rule of law. Long periods of pretrial detention are also inimical to the overall goals of the justice system. The longer a case takes to go to trial, the less likely there is to be a conviction. That is what the statistics show. And therefore, the whole question of eliminating or reducing levels of pretrial detention is one which CCJ is certainly very concerned about.
At this point, we will invite the members of the media to have their questions entertained.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shankar. May I go ahead?
Yes, you may.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to you, President Saunders.
Good afternoon.
Yes, President, can you give the people listening to you this afternoon a guarantee that persons who were on remand for murder and are now given bail will not commit serious crimes when they come out?
Well, you know, Maureen, I am not in a position to give guarantees, save that I can tell you that persons who are suspected of committing crime are entitled to rights under the Constitution, which a court must honor. I can also let you know, let your listeners know, that the CCJ is taking assiduous steps in order to treat with this question of pretrial detention. What we have been doing is trying to facilitate meetings of the bar representatives, of the leadership of the judiciary, of the DPP's office, to examine systemic problems in the whole issue of pretrial detention and coming up with solutions. I think that victims of crime, members of the public, families of victims of crime, all would be very pleased if persons who are suspected of crime are brought to trial swiftly, if they are found guilty, that they are punished, that they are given appropriate sentences, and if they are found not guilty, that they are acquitted and get on with their lives.
Thank you, President. President, how can citizens really feel that the judiciary cares when several of our callers, including pregnant women, tell us that they have to go to court, and when they go to court, they don't even have the use of a toilet. They have to go and find a KFC somewhere to use the toilet. What do you say about that, sir? What's your private opinion, your personal opinion about something like that?
You know, it's not so much about my personal opinion, but I can tell you that every court needs to take responsibility for affording to the public whom it serves appropriate facilities to allow the public to feel comfortable, to be able to approach the seat of justice with a certain degree of, with the facilities that will allow for them to have public trust and confidence in the courts. We are certainly at our court invested in creating conditions, in having the conditions available that would allow for all of those facilities to be made available to the public. And it is something which we encourage, and we work with other judiciaries to also afford.
Thank you, President. President, I have one last question for you. A lot of crimes in our societies, especially of late, are committed by men upon women, intimate partners, and men killing their own women and children. Several religious leaders have said, let them rot in jail. What do you think?
The courts are there in order to preserve law and order in the country, along with the police, prison services, the DPP's department, the parliament. We are all invested in preserving law and order. The courts also are there to function in an effective and efficient manner. The measures that we have been taking in order to reduce delay, measures such as the robust deployment of modern court technology, measures such as electronic filing so that there are no more lost files. Lawyers are able to file their cases at 12 o'clock at night if they wish. You can file at any place at any time. Measures which involve innovative and active management of cases, where we give priority to hearing cases in which, for example, an accused is in custody. All of these steps are such that are engendered to help to promote trust and confidence. We are also invested in providing up-to-date training for our judges so that they can be exposed to all the best practices regionally and internationally in order to dispense justice in an efficient and timely fashion. So
I'll take this opportunity to thank you. We're spot on 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Spot on, CCJ.
thank you for rescuing me.
Wow.
you.
Wow. We have so much to say and so little time. Well done, CCJ.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to say, I like the measured pace with which you spoke, Judge. And thank you, Justice. Well, our journalist was amazing, but our moderator, you were quite succinct, took 35 seconds for your intro, and our spokesperson got straight into the emotional connections. The words that you use, it's unfair, and the proof points to support that you recognize up to 10 years. So that suggests to me knowledge and the emotional connection to what you're saying and to your key publics. Your responses now at the top, I was searching for the development, but later on, you expounded on the innovative approaches. So I think if we put those higher up, we will hold the viewer and the listeners. I also want to caution against weak words. You said trying to facilitate meetings. Instead of, we have facilitated meetings between the key stakeholders, the key institutions that contribute to. So that just weakened the response a bit. But those are my observations. Let me ask Caroline to think. I like the emotional connection. I like the proof points and the measured pace, the succinct responses too. But I would want to identify the initiative a bit earlier in the response.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Agreed. And it's something that, so first of all, congratulations, Team Trinidad, Team CCJ, really excellently done. All the role play, all the players involved. It is also something I noted with cohort 1 CCJ Team Trinidad, because we need to know, we know it's a concern for the CCJ, the pretrial detentions, but in your opening statement, President Saunders, we need to say not just why it's of concern and the relevance to the audience, but what we're doing about it. And it's even supposed to be reflected in the moderator's introduction. So we're here today at the press conference to discuss the initiatives of the CCJ or the Trinidad and Tobago Judiciary to address or improve the issue of pretrial detentions in the region or in Trinidad and Tobago. And both the moderator and the opening statement at least cues us to what we'll be hearing later on in the presentation, right? Again, so much to be said for still demonstration, a passion for a topic very calmly with measured responses, right? So you got this is again impressions. Remember, we are looking at the impressions we create with the words and how we say it. So I was able to take away that this person is an expert, is knowledgeable in the subject, and is passionate about the impact of this issue on the everyday citizen. That came across, even in your measured tones. In responding to the questions, very poignant questions, not related to your press conference topic, but you were able to contain and maintain control of your messaging by using a bridging phrase. You mentioned it was not a matter of your personal opinion, I think once. It was just so many excellent checks. I just stopped counting after a while and just wanted to sit back and enjoy the interview, okay? But there were a couple where you were able, and we would never think it's about deflection. It isn't about deflection. You are able to control when and how you choose to respond to that question in your messaging. So you were able to acknowledge the issue, but in your own way. And that's what bridging allows us to do. It allows us to maintain a path that we have control in our messaging and not do what we would naturally do, which is to respond to the negative or to respond to the allegation, and you're coming off in a defensive, weak position, right? We're starting off strong. So that's just it for me. Do look at the feedback you're receiving from your fellow judges across the region in the chat, and well done again.
Thank you.
Can I say one little thing, Caroline or Madonna?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
There was just one thing, Adrian, if I had to do it, not that I want to, but when I mentioned the killing of women and children, I thought there could have been some empathy with that. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I just thought that what we have going on in the country was such that it would have been nice to say, oh, you know, well, for me,
I
it would
agree.
be my heart breaks at what is going on.
Yes.
Everybody will say it differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just one
I agree.
small
I
thought.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you,
said.
thank you. Yes, thank you, Justice Rashmosby. Great. Belize, are you ready?
To be frank and honest, not really. There was just myself and Magistrate Ford. You know me, I don't shy away from anything, but it would have been hard for us. So we looked at the area that we were to speak on, but it was kind of a little difficult to do it with just the two of us here.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether or not we would have had the best benefit from just the two of us doing this. But I'm ready for most challenge, but this one kind of a little difficult with the rest of Belize's team not being able to log on.
Thank you for being confessional, Magistrate Fraser. Thank you. I know. I always look forward to your presentation. So I know when you're back down, I mean, there's validity in what you're saying. So thanks. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
So let's see. OECS, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Yes, we are.
Hello, yes.
I think.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this afternoon's press conference. My name is Veronica Thomas, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's proceedings. Online with us is Justice Patrick Thompson of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and he's here to speak with us on the e-litigation portal, the most recent initiative of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, aimed at improving access to justice and the system of administration of justice. This afternoon's interview will be conducted by renowned journalist of RBG Network, Ms. Tamara Gilley. At this time, I will invite Justice Thompson to begin with his opening statement, following which he will be responding to questions from Ms. Gilley.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. Let me say at the outset, I'm very excited to be here and to tell you about the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's our most recent initiative, which is the e-litigation portal. Now, let me say at the outset, the e-litigation portal is not anything new. In small island developing states, we have to be flexible, and we were forced to be flexible after the 2017 hurricanes decimated Dominica and the British Virgin Islands, which forced those courts to essentially take their operations digital and onto the e-litigation portal. So we're excited to tell you now in 2022 that we've managed to essentially have access to justice in the Eastern Caribbean, largely digital. And by that, I mean all of our 9 member states are now subscribing to the e-litigation portal. That portal essentially will increase the transparency of court services and access to court service by litigants, both in person and of course, via their attorneys. It will improve and has improved transparency, access to justice, and streamlined our case management systems. It has also contributed to significant cost savings, which we know in cash-strapped small island developing states as ours, financial savings are critical to our viability and to our continued success. We hope that the e-litigation portal is something that our listeners will subscribe to as we seek to ensure that access to justice is not just for a select few in our societies, but for all. The idea that any member of our society can, with a good internet connection, can log on to the internet and access justice in whether a civil or a criminal forum is a significant thing in our small states. And I certainly hope that we can all benefit from that exercise. Thank you.
Ms. Gilly?
Yes, may I proceed, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, you may.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Justice Thompson, for making yourself available. Now, you know, our network really represents the interests of the people. So that, Justice Thompson, we the people are very familiar with all the problems in our justice system over the years. You are here talking to us about this new system which should bring speedy resolution. You're using phrases as cost saving, access to justice. Justice Thompson, we the people want to know, are these just words? Will this system really make a difference to our citizens?
Yes, we certainly believe that it will and has made a difference. What I can say and what I understand from the stats is that there's been increased usage of the system. Certainly, as each territory has come on stream and has made use of the system, we can track and see exactly who is using the system and how it is being used. This court is not a court of words, it is a court of action. And of course, our efforts are transparent. It is a digital system so that anyone who wants to, I suppose, access and track our successes can easily do so.
Justice Thompson, you know that I cover cases almost on a daily basis in the courts, and the people are crying out. The courts have people suffering really. People have to wait long hours. They have no chairs, no water. Imagine just last week I was at the court and there was a pregnant woman. She had to be about 8.5 months pregnant. And she had to walk up a long flight of stairs just to go to a courtroom. The people are really crying out and frustrated. What are you all doing about this, Justice Thompson?
Well, let me say at the outset, if a pregnant woman had to climb several flights of stairs to access justice, that is to be deplored. But of course, the e-litigation portal, if properly utilized, will reduce the need for any litigant to have to come to the building in a condition such as the person you spoke of to access justice. The portal, once used and used properly by litigants and interested persons, will allow persons, irrespective of their condition, to essentially log on and access justice. So we hope that the portal will meet the need of not just the pregnant, but the ill, the elderly, and all of those vulnerable members of our societies that may not be able to access our facilities and have access to justice because of whatever impediment exists.
Yes, and on another note, Justice Thompson, people are complaining that their matters are being delayed because files are being misplaced in the registry. This is a serious concern for our citizens. Are you addressing this problem? Is this new system addressing this problem?
Yes, the new system is geared and designed exactly for that. It is a fully digitized system. It has significant backups online so that the days of the missing file that is making its way from one building to another, those days are long gone in our view. So that everything is digital. And that means, of course, that not only are files accessible, but that our efforts are transparent so that you can see by logging onto the portal what is happening at each stage of your matter. I don't believe that that was possible in the previous dispensation. We'd have to look through a physical file and try and decipher someone's handwriting to determine exactly what was happening with the matter. That is now a thing of the past. So as I said at the outset, the portal is something that we're extremely excited about because it is so accessible and user-friendly.
As we have you here, Justice Thompson, let me digress a bit. In her last address at the opening of the law year, the Chief Justice indicated that this would be her last address. You are seen as one of the brightest judges in the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and there are rumors going around. Justice Thompson, can you confirm here tonight that you have applied for the position of Chief Justice?
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Gillen. First of all, flattery gets you nowhere. I'm not sure where you got your information from, but it seems that this is an inappropriate forum for me to comment on the workings of the court and the moves of the Chief Justice. It seems to me I should thank you for that information you passed on, but this, simply speaking, is not the forum for me to address any concerns about who will succeed the Chief Justice. She has done and will continue to do a fantastic job, and that I think is as far as I can take it.
And I'm
Very
8
enough.
minutes and 37 seconds. Thank you, OECS. Wow, what a high point on which to end. Wow.
Thank you.
Woo. Well, you know, a pastor of mine used to say, we're getting gooder and gooder. Thank you all so very much. Wow. Okay. So I don't know if somebody sent you Justice Thompson. So if somebody
Yes,
sent you
Justice Thompson, put back on your camera so we can
please,
just
yes.
put back
Oh, I'm
everything.
sorry, I'm sorry.
I know you want to be free of the exercise, but we are going to spotlight all of our participants.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
So again, I don't know if somebody sent you a text about your rocking, which was so distracting, but after a
I'm
point.
sorry. It's an uncomfortable chair. It just sort of rocks backwards. I can't, yeah. Sorry.
So what happened? It made you seem not connected with the journalist.
Fidgety. Mhm.
Yeah, the
Right.
fidget. Okay.
Fidgety.
Oh, by the way, there's a crutch word that you use. Essentially, you've used it 3 to 4 times. Okay.
Right.
I liked the benefits, the cost savings, the transparency. You want our listeners to subscribe. I like the standard message, access to justice and justice for all. So we got that in. One thing to watch, you said we hope that the portal, and that weakens the point. Instead of saying we are confident that the portal, right?
Right.
I liked your saying when she spoke about the lost files. That's a thing of the past. That is beautiful. I liked all the benefits, the key terms, accessible, user-friendly. So the language was really emotionally strong and connecting to us. Your proof points, because it's not a new system, I would have wanted some more proof points that says we've seen how many people have used it and the reduction and so on. So some stronger statistics would help the case. And I liked, well, I asked Karen to comment on that. Your response to that last question was masterful. You didn't think it was the time and place to respond to the workings of the judiciary and the almighty. Awesome. So Carolyn,
Yes,
well
so
done,
again,
well done.
well done, well done, well done. So I'm thankful that Madonna has captured many of the statements and observations that I've made. And of course, certainly in the chat, your colleagues are also sending congratulations, but we're going to take it from the top and just run through, because we really want to make sure we know that this setting may or may not be the setting that you would be doing your future press conferences, or it may. And so I'm just doing some housekeeping so you could note for the future, so the things we want to request from IT, certainly with respect to your chair, that you would
Yeah,
want
I'll
to make
change that.
sure that you, even for the virtual and for future, that you have a good chair. And even if it's a chair that swivels, there are opportunities to either lock it in position so it doesn't. And if it's not one of those chairs that you can lock in position for that virtual press conference, I would suggest that you change it so that the ease of movement isn't there at all, okay?
Right.
So
Okay.
that is one thing. Now, again, because we're concerned with setup and presentation, we encourage you all to read module 4, where we talked about how to set up your space for your online interviews. And what's happening, I saw you picked it up quickly, Justice Thompson. Initially, when you came on, part of your head was cropped and you knew
Right.
to raise it. Now, in a real scenario, you would have logged on well before the call time and you've been able to check your camera angle and position, because right now it seems that your camera angle is slightly, it's not dead straight. So
Right,
like the
it's quite
webcam
lost.
is not dead straight, and therefore you're kind of looking at least to my right, okay? So just remember that, everyone, when you're getting ready to prepare, you gotta do your call and your check-in earlier, so you make sure your camera angle, which is a function of where your monitor, how your monitor is really angled, and IT would come in and help you and sort you out, right? So that's the chair, that's the angle, because you really want to be centered as how just Master Tamara Gill is centered in the backdrop. You see, so she is centered dead straight. If Justice Veronica Thomas had her backdrop, you would still see she was centered because her camera position is straight on. So that's just some little Zoom housekeeping that we want to continue to give feedback on as long as we have the opportunity. All right. So your opening statement was good, but it was clear that you were referencing a document. Now, I know on the actual press conference day, if you have to look at a document, it has to be straight down in front of you, so that you're glancing down, but not at the side. So you may have to rest it on top of your keyboard or something like that, but your eyes will just look down briefly and look back up. But yours was scanting exactly right there, wherever
It's
it is.
to the right, sorry, you're right.
No apologies necessary. We are there to provide the eyes that see these things, okay? So we're not nitpicking. So let's get to the good stuff. Your languaging was great. Your ability to respond to those questions, was also on point. Now, one of the things I would advise, as we are all reviewing our responses to the questions that we would not want to be asked, or even questions that we want to be asked, or even as we're looking at the proof points, when we talk about increase, it must be relative to what? So relative to what? Other jurisdictions, relative to the same day last year, relative to the last, like when they talk about crime statistics and they say that our murder rate is down, well, it's down relative to what? So it's down relative to this time last year, it's down. So the increase is relative to what? An increase over the last 12 months, an increase over the number of cases that we had this year, last year, this time, an increase relative to other jurisdictions within the Eastern Caribbean. That's the only thing I'd want us to remember as you're fine-tuning your responses and your proof points, okay? There was a point that right, this was the thing. And I feel that this is an opportunity that you can speak to in your opening statement or in some other aspect. Now, you mentioned once we have good internet connection, that we should have no problem, meaning the audience should have no problem. We would want to be able to speak to that, to say that because our internet connectivity island-wide or across our jurisdictions is near 98%, it's literally a statistic. We have a high penetration rate. Okay,
Right.
so it shows how widespread. We don't want to leave an opportunity for someone to poke a hole to say, well, how about this high area, or what about people don't have internet access? We don't want to assume. Our data shows that we have a high internet penetration rate supported by X number of internet providers, so that we know the issue of not being able to have access to the internet is not a real, it should be few and far between. In addition, we also have these kiosks, I understand, in the courts, that persons, if they wanted to, if they were not sure of their internet supply, they can come into the courts and use the system. That's what cohort 1 said when they were asked about the issue of how widespread. And I don't know if anyone could speak to that, if that's confirmed or not. But it's okay if you can't confirm it. Let's just be mindful then in our responses that that's a potential question. And how do we answer that? I mean, you're saying ease of access, but how do we know everybody has access to the internet that's required to use this system? All right. And then the final point I would want to make is always use the humor with caution, because sometimes it could land and sometimes it can't land, right? So this time it kind of landed ish when you said flattery will get you nowhere. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah. Well, we discussed it actually, because my response initially when you were practicing was a straight denial. Look, this is not the forum.
Yes.
But I felt it was such a personal question.
Yes.
I think it's only fair to sort of deflect and turn it back on the person.
I hear you
but we
with
said the same thing. Humor is so dicey, you know, my sense of humor is not yours, and there's no guarantee that it may not land. So I'll defer to you on what should I
no. So that's what they say. It should be used with a caution, because as you rightly said, sometimes a person's sense of humor, you know, is not the same as another person's. And so we just have to be so cautious. So, I mean,
I'm thinking if his answer was actually yes, then that would be the correct approach, to make a joke.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would love to hear other participants' thoughts on it. I'm not saying levity is ruled out. I'm just saying, just do it with caution.
Yeah. I'd love to hear what any other cohort would say if they were asked. You know, we hear you've applied.
No, the response was perfect. The response was perfect. It was just that beginning joke about flattery will get you everywhere or something like that.
Nowhere. Actually. Nowhere.
Okay, but the other comment I just want to make quickly is that the moderator's opening statement was also very well done, because it allowed the listener, the audience, to get a sense of why we're here, and already talked about some of the benefits we can expect that the Chief Justice, the Justice, will then further drill down. So it really signals the importance of the moderator's opening statement. It's not really just to convey the rules of engagement, but set the tone as well, okay? All right, so that's just my comments there. Please, participants, what do we feel? How do we feel about the joke at the beginning, levity? You know, what should we do? Anybody else, or am I just being a fuddy-duddy, stick in the mud, too tightly wound person, and I should just relax?
Sorry.
Anyone?
About the levity?
Yes, that particular flattery will get you nowhere. Yeah.
No, actually, I think it's time and place for everything. And quite frankly, I use levity as a coping mechanism, especially the more stressed I am. And as luck would have it, I can tell you this, I don't trust the media. I can't say my trust has increased, but this workshop has helped me think a bit more comfortable in how I deal with them. During the COVID pandemic, the chief took the unprecedented step of allowing a judge to give an interview to a very hard-hitting, sometimes controversial radio personality. Ironically, that person was me, so I guess I have a record in Jamaica. I was very nervous about it because I have a habit where if I'm backed into a corner, I push back. I don't like the ambush style of journalism, and she's kind of famous for that. Although she's usually fair, she's a lawyer, by the way, and she's appeared in front of the group. I called back the chief and I said to him, "Are you sure you want me to do this?" And they realized the discomfort, so they actually reached out to her to get the talking points, the parameters, and so on. But I used levity, and it actually helped. So I think there's a time and place for everything. You'll know when. Sometimes, but the danger with levity is that if it doesn't go over, everybody sees that it doesn't go over. You know, it's like a stand-up comedian almost. The joke either flies or falls. I basically use it as a coping mechanism.
Yeah. Especially if it doesn't come naturally to you. So I would, for me, guys, in my personal opinion, I am just so straight, you know, I would avoid it. It has to come like a natural, really casual thing, and not something that, and safe, really safe. And that's so subjective. So I'm here to do business. I'm here to get this job done. I don't want to leave any room for anything. We just did a fantastic interview. And the last thing that they're going to remember is this joke that fell. I'm not risking that. Justice Rajnath-Lee.
I wanted to say one quick thing, because all the participants were so excellent, and this group in particular. I wanted to add, though, I kind of wish you, Caroline, on the joke part, because I could see the next morning, Judge flattered.
Right.
You know, that would be the headline.
The audience.
Judge flattered by thought that he would be the next Chief Justice or something along those lines.
Right.
So because I think I've been around so long, I've seen it all.
Right.
And the most innocent of comments can be used. Thanks, Caroline.